Hi Math 30-2s. We're going to get started. I'm using a new app today, so you might have to bear with me as we work out some of its kinks. To warm up, we'll do the 3 questions from your notebook. First one, a league consists of 4 teams. In how many ways can they finish in the league standings? So the first thing you have to understand is that means that someone has to place first, someone has to place second, someone has to play third, and someone has to play last. So there are 4 different options for which teams can place. So we know that someone has to get first, someone has to get second, someone has to get third, and someone has to get fourth. So how many teams can get first? Well, we know that since there are 4 teams, 4 of them can get first. How many teams can get second? Well, now that one team has already been placed into first spot, there are 3 teams that can get second. There are 2 teams that can get third now because we already have someone in the first spot and second spot. And we have 1 team that can be placed in 4th place. So now we are going to multiply these numbers together to see how many ways they can finish in league standing. So 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. So there are 24 ways in which they can finish. We could have listed all of the different outcomes in a sample space, however, this is a much easier way to apply it. Next question, in how many ways can the letters from the word smile be arranged? So that's going to be the same thing. If you want to think about it in terms, there's 5 letters, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 options for the first letter. There are 4 options for the next letter, 3, 2, 1. So you're probably starting to notice a pattern. We start at a number and then we go down all the way to 1. So the first one we would start at 4, 3, 2, 1. Next one 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So today we're going to be learning a shorthand for how to figure out types of questions like these. Okay, let's do the last one quick. In how many ways can 6 people line up at the bookstore? It'll be similar in that there are 6 different ways, 6 different spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we know that 6 people could be in the first one, 5 people, 3 people, 2, I missed 4. Let's see if I can find the eraser here. Sorry about that. 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And that is equal to 720. Alright, so our new material is what we call factorials, and it means that when all the members of a set are being arranged with no repetition, the number of arrangements can be represented by a factorial. So here we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all being multiplied. That can be written in shorthand as 10 factorial. So if we go back to the above, you can actually see that question 1 could have been written as 4 factorial. Question 2 could have been written as 5 factorial. And question 3 could have been written as 6 factorial. So we now have a shorthand that we can use so that we don't have to write down all of the numbers. Let's go ahead and try typing it on your calculator. You're going to type in the 10 first, and then you go to math and move over, and then you press 4 and enter. You'll see the factorial button, and that's how you'll get the answer. and your calculator will automatically put it in as 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 without you actually having to type it in. So this one, it gets quite large fast. It is going to be 3,628,800. Alright, so make sure you've given that a try. You can pause the video if you need to. So we read it as n factorial, and it just means that we're multiplying the numbers by itself and the number lower than it. So if you start at 11, that means you go 11, 10, 9, 8, all the way to 1. If you start at 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way to 1. So keep in mind that it has to be a positive number. We can't talk about negative numbers here. That's why it says n is a natural number. We only go down to 1. If we went down to 0, the answer would actually be 0 because you'd be multiplying it by 0. Alright, the next example is quite easy, as all you have to do is determine the value on your calculator. So let's go ahead and try it. The first one is 5 factorial. That's very similar to the question that we saw at the beginning in our warm-up. It's going to equal 120. You can pause it if you want to go ahead and give these a try. 12 factorial is 479 million. $1,600. What about 6 factorial times 12 factorial? When you put that in your calculator, you want to make sure that you put a times symbol in there. It's indicated if we don't put it in there, but your calculator needs to tell you that it's 12. So when you put that one into your calculator, you can get a very big number to actually just tell you it's 3 times 4 times 10 to the 11. So you can imagine that as 3.4 with 11 zeros behind it. Next one, 8 factorial times 3 factorial, that's going to be 241,920. And then what about 9 factorial divided by 3 factorial? So of course, one thing that we need to notice is that this is not equal to 3 factorial. You can't just take the numbers, divide them, put a factorial. It won't be the same. However, I'm going to show you this one longhand because we're going to be using it quite a bit later on. So it's actually equal to, if we write it out longhand, 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over top of 3 times 2 times 1. So what is going to happen is the 3 times 2 times 1 can actually cancel out on the top and bottom, and we're left with 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4, stopping there, and that's going to be 6,480. You would get the same answer if you typed it on your calculator. I just want you to understand how they work. Okay, next ones for typing in our calculator, we have 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial, 2 factorial. Key for this one is that we have to put brackets around the bottom. Otherwise, it'll take 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial and then actually multiply it by 2. So make sure that you get 10 for this one. Remember that if you're dealing with fractions, it's better to be safe than sorry. You can put brackets around the top and brackets around the bottom, and you'll never be harmed. It's the opposite way that can harm you. Same thing for the next one, brackets around the bottom, and that should give you 440. Make sure you're trying these on your calculator. Okay, example number 2, write as a factorial. So at the beginning, these are going to start very basic. We know that a factorial just starts at the top number and then goes all the way down to 1. So this one starts at 9, so you can write a 9, and then it's factorial because it goes all the way down to 1, multiplying. Next one is going to be 5 factorial. Okay, notice on example C that it starts at 8, but then it stops at 6. It doesn't go all the way down. So this is where that example 1 comes into play. is how it's going to be written is we need to start with an 8 factorial. But we know that 8 factorial actually goes 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So we need to think, what can I divide that by so that I only have 8 times 7 times 6? So I can actually divide it by 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, because in this case it'll cancel out and I'll just be left with 8 times 7 times 6. So all I need to figure out is how do I write the bottom as a factorial, and it'll just be 5 factorial. So 8 factorial divided by 5 factorial will give me 8 times 7 times 6. So now if you look back at the question, we start with the 8 factorial as that was the first number, and then we're going to divide it by the next number that is missing as a factorial. So let's give that a try. For example, D, 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6. So we know that we can start with 10 factorial, and then we have to divide by something so that it would cancel off. And in this case, the next number missing is a 5, so we're going to divide by 5 factorial. If you need to write it out the long way, go ahead and do that so that you can understand why those are equal. Alright, let's get started on some practical applications. In how many ways can the letters in the word champ be arranged? So this is very similar to the questions that we warmed up with. It's just that now we have an easier method to solve it. So if you want, you can draw it out. We know that there's 5 letters, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we know that there's 5 different options of letters to put in the first one. There's 4 to put in the second one, 3, 2, 1. So I know that this is the same as 5 factorial, so I can type 5 factorial in my calculator and get 120. So there's 120 different ways that they can be arranged. Alright, the next one, in how many ways can 10 people line up? So like I said, similar question to what we've done before. You can write it out if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we know that it would be 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6. So we can shorthand that as 10 factorial. And 10 factorial is equal to 3,628,800. It's very interesting when you think about the question, in how many ways can 10 people line up? There are 3,628,800 ways for them to actually line up. Kind of blows your mind a little bit. Next one, in how many ways can a team of 8 players sit on a bench? So that's going to be very similar. It's going to be 8 factorial because there's 8 players, and that is equal to 40,320. Next one, in how many ways can 6 people sit in a row? That one will be 6 factorial, which is 720. So keep in mind these questions are quite straightforward as there are no what I would call restrictions. It's all just 6 people sitting on a bench. But what if it said that there are 6 people sitting on a bench, but say Sam and Jerry needed to be sitting beside each other? How would that change it? So that's what we're going to look at next class. In the meantime, I would like you to complete Lesson 2 Factorials worksheet and then turn to your textbooks in page 81 and complete 1 to 5, 7 to 10, and 12 to 16. That's it for today.